Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenos días a todos y a todas. Hello, everyone. What's up? How are you doing? Welcome to everyone. This is, I think, the 22nd, maybe the 23rd episode of our weekly Facebook Live Spanish broadcast from Babbel. We are David, myself, y David, mi colega increíble, my incredible colleague, tan inteligente, so smart, y tan amistoso, so friendly. I love to be here with him, teaching you all some different elements of Spanish grammar and culture. So this is just so much fun for us always, and we welcome you back. David, what is going on? ¿Qué planes tienes para este fin de semana y qué harás este fin de semana? What plans do you have for the weekend? What will you do?
Buenas noches, desde Berlín, Alemania. Estoy muy feliz de ver a tantas personas escribiendo desde Texas, desde San Francisco, Florida, Puerto Escondido, incluso. I'm very happy to see you all writing from the places where you are right now. Thank you, David, for the intro. My name is David. This is the Spanish way to say my name, but you can also call me David, David M. And I'm broadcasting from Berlin. Estoy transmitiendo desde Berlín, Alemania, Germany. And that's why I say buenas noches, good evening. But I guess your day is just starting now. So I'm very happy to be here, as always, as usual. I'm very happy about Tuesdays because I share this time with you, with David, to learn more about Spanish. That's our goal, es nuestro objetivo. And David, back to your question. ¿Cuáles son mis planes para el fin de semana? Vale. Tengo algunos planes. Aún no estoy seguro, not sure yet, pero creo que voy a ir a Hamburgo. Es una ciudad en el oeste de Alemania, the west of Germany. I'm planning to go to Hamburg. Voy a ir a Hamburgo, voy a visitar a unos amigos que viven ahí. I'm gonna visit some friends that are living there in Hamburg. Y creo que va a ser un viaje muy corto, porque solo será por el fin de semana. It's gonna be a short trip because it's gonna be only for the weekend. These are my plans. ¿Cuáles son tus planes para el fin de semana, David?
Gracias por preguntarme. Yo pasaré tiempo con una amiga especial. I will pass time or spend time with a very special friend of mine. Y ella va a venir a visitarme aquí en Brooklyn. She's going to come visit me here in Brooklyn. Y vamos a cenar y cocinar y visitar los sitios de la ciudad. We're going to cook and we'll eat good food and we'll visit all the sites around Brooklyn. So I'm excited to see her. It's been a long time. But David, what do you say instead of talking about our future plans that we talk about the topic for today and review the sentence from last week where we talked about commands and how to use the imperative form of verbs to give commands in the to form. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Yeah, so let's review the sentence that we had for today. This was the homework. And you might remember that we talked about commands, imperativo en español. And the idea here was to use this verb, proponer, which means to suggest. ¿Cómo podemos hacer un command? How can we express here a command? How can we say, yeah, I'm the one who is always suggesting ideas, now suggest you an idea. And we see here the first answer by Dana. Siempre propongo ideas, ahora propone una idea tú. Ahora tú propones, ahora propone una idea tú.
So if you remember the rules that we talked about last week, you might arrive at one answer that seems correct based on the rules that we taught you. And then if you think about some other rules that we also taught you for irregular verbs, you might arrive at a different answer. So this could be considered a trick question potentially, but we'll run you through why you might be getting two different answers, because I see kind of split down the middle in the comments here. But it is a tricky one, no doubt. So I'm kind of excited to get into this one.
Maybe let's remember that these verbs are irregular in imperativo in Spanish. So when we are saying, when we are using ser for a command, like be a good person, in Spanish we would say sé una buena persona. And the verb that we are adding here in the sentence is proponer. And proponer is very similar to the sixth one in this list, poner. So poner becomes pon, P-O-N, pon. So this also affects these verbs that we build with these irregular forms. So poner becomes pon. So proponer will become propon. Yeah, propon. And then we add an accent mark to the answer. So the solution, the answer would be siempre propongo ideas. Ahora propon una tú. So I'm just writing this down so that we can see the sentence on the screen. Siempre propongo ideas. Ahora propon una tú. I know that two might be a bit weird at the end of the sentence, but this is just a way for us to highlight who is going to take here an action, who is going to suggest an idea. Now it's your turn. Yeah. So this one was very, very complicated, I know.
So I like to think of this as sort of like you have these 8 irregular verbs that we taught you, and there are 8 irregular forms in the imperative, but other verbs that use the same sort of root verbs also become irregular. So poner is pon, proponer is propon. And you have other verbs like componer, to compose. So proponer suggests, but it also means to propose, like to propose an idea. And so you can deduce that componer means compose. So the imperative form of componer would be compon, but it also works with other verbs as well. So tener means to have, but mantener means to maintain. And that's the same root verb, tener. So if you wanted to tell someone to maintain something, maintain a good attitude, you would say mantén una buena actitud. And that would be the same sort of situation. You take tener and it becomes ten, but mantener comes from the same verb, tener, so it becomes mantén. So that is a little bit confusing, and we didn't mean to trick you, but it's just a funny little anecdote about Spanish that will make more sense as you use it, is how some verbs have the same root as these irregular 8 verbs you see on the screen. And so therefore their imperative forms also have the irregular form as well.
Yeah, that's true. And I like to see here Lee commenting, yes, we need to practice more. Necesitamos practicar más. That's the key for this topic and for all the topics that we've seen so far. So Boris is asking, okay, so the same happens to obtener. It's exactly the same, Boris. That's correct. So obtain, that would be the imperative form, the way we formulate a command with that verb obtener. It's exactly the same. Cool. This is great. Keep these verbs in mind, not only for commands, but also for other tenses and conjugations. Because these verbs, some of them, I would say most of them, are going to be needed for today's topic, because we will be talking about the future tense and how we can express ideas in the future. And that's why we were asking, oh, David, what are your plans for next weekend?
Mhm.
So let's start with saying that there are two ways to express the future tense in Spanish, and we'll start with the first one. And I guess you have already seen it before, but let's start with a sentence. Does that mean to obtain? Yes, Rita. Before we move on to the sentence, that means to obtain, obtener. To get something. Cool. So let's go back to the sentence that I was displaying here on the screen. Yo voy a comprar comida para la fiesta. I'm going to buy food for the party. So here we see the verb ir plus the word a, the little word with the little preposition a, in Spanish being pronounced like a. Voy a comprar comida para la fiesta. So here we are just saying I'm going to buy food for the party. Let's have a look at another sentence, David. So I'm posting this for you. This one.
So we say "Cuándo vas a visitarnos?" and that would translate to "When are you going to visit us?" Cuando, when, vas is the to form of ir, to go. So you are going. In this case, it's a question. So are you going? When are you going? Visitar means to visit. And then nos, if you think back to many episodes ago when we talked extensively about direct object pronouns, nos would be the direct object pronoun meaning us, so the first person plural form. So it, in this case, can be attached to the end of the infinitive visitar, to visit, to give us the sentence "Cuándo vas a visitarnos?" And that is another example of how to use this verb ir to express, ir plus that tiny little preposition a that David just mentioned, to express something that will happen in the future.
Yeah, and here we can also ask, ¿Cuándo nos vas a visitar? Just remember that it's possible to change the position of this object pronoun in some cases, and we had a long episode on this topic. So we recommend you to review that.
We see that happen here. Maybe, sorry, David, I might be skipping ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. We'll come back to that one. So this one on the screen is another example. Nosotros vamos a ver la película después de la clase. We, nosotros, are going. Vamos, that's how you say we go or we are going. Conjugation of the verb ir. A, there's that little word a again. And then we see a verb, ver, in the infinitive form, to see. And then la película después de la clase, the movie after class. So we have the subject, the verb ir conjugated according to the subject, nosotros vamos, the little word a, cannot forget that, and then the verb in the infinitive form, in this case, ver, and then whatever comes after that. Nosotros vamos a ver la película.
Yeah.
So, David, I was going to show the next sentence, and that is an example of moving the direct object pronoun either before or after this verb phrase, ir a, something, something, something. If you want to talk about this one.
Yeah. So here we have el artículo, the article. Ella va a escribirlo. She's going to write it. This sentence can be built into different ways in Spanish. So we can say ella va a escribirlo, but ella lo va a escribir is also correct in Spanish. So both ways are correct. Just remember that we have certain words like lo, la, le, all reflexive pronouns, me, te, se, nos, os, and these words can change the position in certain cases. Again, here we see how we can do that. And yeah, David.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, I was not.
I was just going to display kind of the basic formula that we can talk about when we want to use sentences like these to talk about the future. And that is el verbo ir, the verb ir, which we've been talking about means to go, and the little preposition a, and then otro verbo, another verb. So you could choose whatever you want to put in that space. You could say going to buy, going to cook, going to clean, whatever you want. But that translates to the phrase going to whatever. And it's actually kind of easy to think about the parallels to English because we say the same thing in English, going to do something. So you're using the same verb in much the same way to express the future, just like we do in English. The one difference is Spanish uses this little preposition a in between, so you can't forget that when you're using this construction.
Yeah. So I think it's worth remembering the forms of the verb ir because it's very crucial. It's very important when it comes to the future. So here we are dropping all the personal pronouns. So when we say voy a, we understand that this is I'm going to. Vas as, it's gonna be used for tu vas a, you are going to. Va a, it's gonna be used for he and she, él, ella, and also usted, which is the polite form to address someone in the singular. Usted va a pedir algo. Are you gonna order something? For example, this is a common question that you might ask in a Mexican restaurant. Then we have vamos a, which is for nosotros, nosotras. Vamos a. Vais a is something that you're going to use in Spain because this is the form that corresponds to vosotros, vosotras. Again, this is you, plural, informal, and this is not used in Latin America. Instead of that, we are going to say ustedes, and we conjugate the verb like ustedes van a. Like for ellos and ellas. That means they. Ellos van, ellas van, ustedes van a pedir algo. So when we drop the personal pronoun and there is no other proper name, nothing indicating, then the context will tell us, okay, if it's voy a, it's easy because it literally means I am going to, easy. But if we have a verb like va a, va a viajar el fin de semana. He is going to travel. She is going to travel. Who is going to do that? So that's what happens when we drop the subject sometimes. So the context will tell us, whom are we talking about? I see here a question that I didn't want to, that we didn't want to ignore, Kathy, because I think this is relevant. Would one ever say, when are you coming to visit us? In Spanish, it's possible as well. Both are correct. Cuando vienes a visitarnos o cuando vas a visitarnos. But here, we would need another episode to explain the differences between ir and venir in Spanish, because they work slightly differently in Spanish. When it comes to use the verb to come and to go and directions. So yes, it would be correct to say cuando vienes a visitarnos using the verb to come, like coming in English. But we come back to this topic when we explain the differences between venir and ir, because they are very, very important in Spanish.
So I see Hank's question here, and he says the verb is in the infinitive. This is the verb that you're going to do something. This verb. So isn't the redundant? So this is technically, yes, the to an English speaker would be redundant. We say, I'm going, boy. and then you have another infinitive, to run, to sleep, to cry. So it seems like this is a little extra word we don't need, but Spanish requires it. I don't actually know sort of the history behind how this word became so necessary in a construction like this, but it also appears in Spanish in other verb constructions like comenzar a cocinar, to begin, to start, comenzar a, and then another infinitive, to start to do something. And it also seems redundant there, but it's just required. And I wish I had a better answer for why that is, but it's just something we have to remember as we speak Spanish.
It's like when saying I have to go to the supermarket, to the grocery store in English. Why do we use have to go? Why do we use to between both verbs? It's like connecting two different verbs by using that word. So it works like a connector, but don't forget that word. I mean, something interesting here is that there are also there is also this way to express the future in Portuguese and French, and they are very familiar to Spanish. And they have exactly the same construction, but without the word a. So I don't know, Spanish is special, it's a special one. We need that word to express the future. Yeah, I hope this makes sense. Sometimes it's just the way it is. Maybe there was let's say a different use back in the 13th century, or because of the Arabic influence in Spanish. But that's an interesting question. Keep in mind, use that word, and we will try to find out why. But it's going to be difficult, to be honest. It's just the way we use, we say sentences like this when expressing the future. So ir a plus another verb means you are having an action in the future. Yeah. Something interesting is that you can also say voy a ir al parque. So you can use twice the verb ir just to express I'm gonna go to the park, like in English. I'm going to go to the park. So I think we are done with these ir a plus verb forms. Let's move on to the second way to express future in Spanish. And let's start with this, David. Hablaré con tu hermano. I will speak with your brother. There is something special here because there is no ir a anymore, but we have an ending attached to the verb hablar.
So this kind of looks like more of a conjugation on the verb itself than anything else. But if we look closely, so you know that the infinitive hablar means to speak or to talk, and you see that in its full form followed by another ending attached to it here. So that feels a little bit different from taking off the ending, the AR ending, and adding something else. When we say yo hablo, then you don't see this AR infinitive ending anymore. Then that's the present tense, I speak. But when we say I will speak, we say hablaré con tu hermano. And I think it might be helpful to see another example with the same verb used in action. So we could say something like, let's put it on the screen.
This one. So when we say hablaré con tu hermano, I'm saying I will speak. And this other one.
We can say cuando hablarás con él, when will you speak with him? We see again the full form of the infinitive hablar plus something else added to the end. So in this case, that means you will speak. It's a question, so will you speak, essentially, but same idea. And in this first example, I will speak. Hablaré, tú hablarás. So we're seeing that instead of chopping off the ending, like I said, of the infinitive, we're actually adding something to the end. And this might be something you've never seen before because you might be used to conjugating in the present tense, or if you know how to conjugate in one of the simple past tenses, then you know that you're taking off the ending and adding something new, but this time you're just adding some letters and some sounds to the infinitive itself. So let's take an example like this. Él no trabajará el viernes. We see that the word trabajar, to work, appears with something attached to the end of it. Trabajará. And that translates to he won't work or he will not work on Friday. So expressing the future.
Mm-hmm.
So David, what else do we have to say about this?
I think we can have a quick review of the rule here because this one is going to be very, very easy. As you can see in the previous examples, we attached specific endings to the verb, to the infinitive verb, which makes everything easier because now we don't need to pay attention to the infinitive ending at all. So let's have a look here at the verbs hablar, which means to speak, comer, this one means to eat, and dormir, it means to sleep. So when I'm using the simple future tense in Spanish, by attaching these endings, I'm going to attach the E with the stress mark at the end of the verb. So I would say, yo hablaré, I will speak. This ending will be always used for yo. So I can also say, yo comeré, I will eat. Yo dormiré, I will sleep. So the ending for tú is as. Tú comerás. Tú hablarás. Tú dormirás. So there we are saying three different verbs to express the future tense for them with like for the second person singular tú comerás, you will eat. And the ending for él, ella, and usted in the future tense would be a. Él dormirá, él trabajará, él aprenderá, he will learn. And these are the forms in the singular. Let's have a look at the forms in the plural with the help of more example sentences. So here we have, te visitaremos el año próximo. We will visit you next year. Te visitaremos el año próximo. So as you can see, we add there the ending hemos to the main verb, to the infinitive verb. David, what happens when we have vosotros or vosotras as a subject? So here.
We have a special ending for vosotros y vosotras, and that is eis. So EIS with an accent mark over the E. So you take a verb like aprender, to learn, and you want to talk about the plural second person informal, only used in Spain, of course. Vosotros, vosotras, you say aprenderéis mucho en este curso. You all will learn so much in this course. So we see the same thing going on. You take the infinitive, you don't chop off the ending, but instead you add something to the end of the infinitive, and that is, in this case, the ending eis.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, for the forms remaining in the plural, which is third person, so ellos, ellas, they, and then we also have the formal second person, ustedes, which we know is used outside of Spain in both formal and informal contexts. We say, mis padres descansarán este fin de semana. My parents will rest this weekend. And same thing going on. We take the infinitive that we want to make into the future. So to rest, descansar, we add an with a stress mark over the a, and we get the verb descansarán, will rest. So, W, did I miss anything there, or?
No, I think we can have also a quick review of these forms in the plural. When it comes to nosotros, nosotras, we will attach the ending hemos. Hablaremos, comeremos, jugaremos, we'll play, veremos, we'll see. For vosotras and vosotros, we'll add the ending eis. This is used in Spain, and this would be aprenderéis. You will learn in the plural form to address a group of people. So we add this ending "ais" to the infinitive. And for ellos, ellas, and ustedes, we'll add the ending "an." Hablarán, comerán, they will eat. Dormirán, they will sleep. So keep this in mind. These are the endings that we'll need in order to build the future tense in the simple future in Spanish. So, David, I see here a very interesting question posted by Lee, because after we saw these forms of ir, a plus verb, and these verbs with endings, the next question would be, okay, but what's the difference? Is this a matter of style, or is this specific to situations where we need to use this form or this other form? What's the answer, David? You can communicate about news.
I would say that I don't personally see a difference, and in my experience, I have talked to Spanish speakers who use both forms almost interchangeably. I mean, in English, it kind of works the same way. I'm going to take the dog on a walk at 5 p.m., or I will take the dog on a walk at 5 p.m. I mean, in English, I'm probably more partial to I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But I think it's just a matter of personal preference, what sounds good to you and what makes sense in the moment.
So in Spanish, there is no difference at all. When I learned the difference about the difference between the future with will and the future with going to in English, I was told that I use the future with going to for plans, and for something more spontaneous, I would need the future with will. But this is in English. In Spanish, there is no difference. You can use either form for the future. So this is, of course, very important to know. I mean, learning the endings for the future simple, hablará, comerás, for you'll eat, and so on. It's very important because we use them a lot in Spanish when speaking in Spanish, when writing a text, when speaking about plans with our friends, with our parents, etc. And you can also learn them. You can use them. But if you're not sure about what ending you need, you can also have a way around, like have a second option, and you can also use the forms with ir a plus verb without ending, just infinitive, to express the same thing. So I can say, voy a aprender coreano, I'm gonna learn Korean, or aprenderé coreano, I will learn Korean. So in this case, we are gonna have two options, which is great. And now that I said this sentence, voy a aprender coreano, I saw this question by Hahn. Sometimes it is used and sometimes not. He's referring here to the word a when using the future ir a plus verb. I would say this is something that is very hard to notice when we have a verb that begins with a, like for example, aprender. I'm going to learn Korean. When we speak in Spanish, we do it also very fast. So we say, voy a aprender coreano. So we don't notice that there is a little a connecting both verbs. But we use it and we write it. And although you cannot hear it there, we are being just very fast. But if you write this sentence down, then it would be voy a aprender coreano.
Mhm.
But that only happens with verbs that, begin with a or with ha, like hacer. Voy a hacer. So we don't take the time actually to stress these two a's. Voy a hacer. So we connect them. Voy a hacer. Voy a hacer. So I hope this is clear. Yeah, so Dana, that's correct. Voy a comer and comeré, comeré are the same in Spanish.
So, David, do you want to go ahead and dive into these test questions?
Yes, that makes sense. While you pose the first question, I would like to address this comment by Phyllis. Technically, there is no difference. So you can also maybe make the same association as in English. So you would use voy a ir if you are more sure. Then you will use the verb iré. Again, you can also learn these rules, but they are unnecessary because you can say in any situation when talking about where you're going to go, you can use both voy a ir or iré. It's exactly the same. So you can also maybe read some explanations on that, but pragmatically speaking, like when we use the future, we just take the first that comes to our mind when explaining plans. So actually, there is no need to learn any rule. So you just can use both.
Okay, so here is the first of our practice test questions, if we're all ready to dive into them. So we see ustedes donde pasar el invierno, which would translate to where will you all spend the winter. So we see three different options for verb endings here, and we know we're trying to convert the verb pasar, to spend, into the future for the ustedes form, you all will spend. So we have to choose one of these three endings, and which one is it?
Wow, awesome. We can see some answers. And maybe we can say...
So I went ahead and typed the answer. Yep, that's right. Good job to everyone who guessed C, almost all of you. So we would end up with the sentence, ustedes donde pasarán el invierno, because we know that to form the simple future tense for the ustedes form, we add the ending an to the infinitive. So take pasar plus an and get donde pasarán el invierno.
Yeah. You might be wondering why ustedes in the at the beginning of the sentence, and then we have where, donde, and then the verb. Like donde is between the subject and the verb. Since we drop the subject very often in Spanish, we would ask ¿Dónde pasarán el invierno in a normal context? So when using the personal pronoun, it feels like I'm being forced to say that. But I'm just highlighting ustedes because it might also mean ellos or ellas. So in that case, we use this resource. We just put it in the beginning, and then we continue with the sentence, ¿Dónde pasarán el invierno? We can also say, ¿Dónde pasarán ustedes el invierno? Or we can also ask, ¿Dónde pasarán el invierno ustedes? So all of them are correct. But not, ¿Dónde ustedes pasarán el invierno? That sounds very unnatural to me. Yeah.
Good clarification.
I just wanted to say that. And let's go to the next question. Well, actually, it's not a question. It's a blank, fill in the blank. Camila y yo, algo especial para ti por tu cumpleaños. And the verb here is cocinar. So the idea is that knowing that you can have the options here to express something in the future tense, we'd like you to actually come up with the right form in the future tense in Spanish. So Camila y yo. Keep in mind that we are talking about Camila y yo. That means us. So we, Camila and I will cook something special for you for your birthday, or Camila and I are going to cook something special for you for your birthday.
So two answers here.
Yes, two possible answers. Yeah, so I see lots of right answers.
Yeah. So I see that Dana has captured both of the right answers. And this is great. Yeah, vamos a cocinar, we know is the form ir a, and we want to talk about the verb cocinar, to cook. So we conjugate ir in the nosotros, nosotras form, vamos. So Camila y yo, that's we. Vamos a cocinar algo especial. We're going to cook something special. Or we take the verb cocinar, and I think that the C and the N are flipped here. But we all know what it is supposed to look like. Cocinar, there we go. Yeah, cocinaremos, we take the root verb cocinar in the infinitive form, and we add this ending emos, which applies for nosotros, nosotras in the future simple tense. So great job to everyone. It seems most everyone got at least one of those forms correct.
And don't forget the a, like if we're gonna use ir a plus verb, like this one, very well done, Hahn. Vamos a cocinar or cocinaremos. That's correct. Awesome. So we have a sentence, a last sentence. This is gonna be the homework for you. And this is the sentence, again, the same game. The verb hacer in brackets is the one that we are going to use here to form the future tense. So this is going to be your homework for, not for next week, because we will be here. No estaremos aquí.
Vamos a ir de vacaciones.
Tendremos vacaciones. We'll have some days off.
So yes, that's a great way to segue into our wrap up and say that next week we won't be back with you. We are so sorry to say, but David and I have independent vacations planned for that week. So we are so sad to miss you, but we'll be back the week after. So that I believe that's October 20th, that Tuesday. And we'll review this sentence and we'll have a new topic to present as well. But in the meantime, if you want to stay connected with us this week, next week, until we come back, we are on social media at Babbel USA, on Twitter, here on Facebook, where you already are, and I believe Instagram and TikTok as well. And then you can find all of our earlier videos from these lessons, the 22 preceding videos, on the Facebook page here in the video section or on YouTube, and we'll share the link to our YouTube channel as well. And I think, also, if you want to follow us on Quora, our space called Everything Language is growing fast. We're almost at 100,000 followers, so lots of good content there about Spanish and all the other languages that we offer on Babbel. And Babbel Magazine, of course, is a great resource too for learning about languages, Spanish, and everything else that we offer. So we'll drop a lot of these links below. And then we also have the Google Doc where we've been sharing all of the homework sentences and examples from each of these lessons if you need some more review. So, David, what else do you have to say?
No, thank you, David. You said everything. Yeah, so this is the link to the Google Doc where we collect all of our example sentences that we shown here on the screen. So have a look at it. We are gonna update it also with the latest sentences that we had today in our session. And don't forget your homework for October the 20th, in 2 weeks. This is gonna be your homework. Please share your thoughts with us, your comments, your suggestions, the topics you are struggling the most with, and the topics you want us to talk about, because this is mainly for you. Esto es por ustedes, because of you, and para ustedes, for you. Yeah, so you are the recipients. Just to practice a little bit this difference between por and para. So I am very happy because I could share these minutes with you, with David, with everyone. We talked about the future. And la próxima semana nos vamos de vacaciones. Nos vamos a ir de vacaciones. And please take the time to practice, to speak with your friends in Spanish. It's always very important to watch a series in Spanish, a movie in Spanish. There are lots of them. And we hope you are gonna stay fine at home. Be safe.
Adiós a todos.
Chao, adiós.
Luego.